Welcome to Waking the Kraken. I'm Wes Potts.
I'm Alex Koeneman.
And today we're getting a little bit of a late start. Me and Alex both didn't really want to wake up today.
Yeah, I turned 25 yesterday, so I had drinks from like 5:30 until like 2:30. It was a long night.
Yeah. I mean, it sounded like it was a good night when I got home after work.
It was a good night. It was a good night.
Yeah, so outside of your birthday, what I've been drinking on your birthday. What else did you do?
Mainly I just had a bunch of my friends come over and hang out, and just got to spend time with the people I wanted to see, and just kind of chilled. And I also got this new video game called Nier Automata, and I'm real excited about that. I don't know if anybody has heard about it, but it's basically this game who's made by a designer whose main philosophy is that a game should constantly be changing and delighting you rather than being the same experience for 50 hours. And so I played that for about an hour last night, and
that game looked really interesting. When I saw you play it for a little bit when I got home last night. It looks like you're like flying around in a robot and like
basically it kind of is like one of those like arcade top-down shooters at first, where like you have like the ship and then other ships are flying at you.
Yeah.
And then like the camera angle changes, and then like instead of being top-down, all of a sudden you're at the side and your ship turns into a Gundam, and it's the same controls, but now you have a sword and you're fighting. And then all of a sudden like you land the plane thing that you're in, and now you're this like woman who has this little robot that floats above her and these two gigantic swords, and you just run around, and now it's kind of more of an action game. Kind of like Dark Souls or Bloodborne.
Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. I mean, and you've been playing those recently a lot too, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
So did you? Okay, so in the news recently, obviously, like Kevin Spacey and a couple other people have been getting like the Weinstein Company and stuff like that.
Louis C.K.
Did you see? I was gonna say, did you see the thing about Louis C.K. about how his like movie got pulled, and like Netflix pulled his second stand-up special and everything like that on these allegations from like 5 different women?
Like, I didn't see everything that got pulled. I mean, all I saw was that like apparently Louis C.K. likes to like rub one out and make people watch.
Yeah, that was that was like I was reading this on the BBC, and like it was almost surreal to see someone be like on the BBC writing about this scandal and being like I thought it was gonna be way worse. I thought it was gonna be like he likes to touch women, like Cosby or something like that. Mm-hmm. But this one was just like he's like, yeah, apparently he just likes to like talk to people while he's like rubbing one out.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's the weirdest, like that's gotta be one of the weirder fetishes that I've heard come into the like everyone knows that like some people have really weird fetishes.
Yeah, right.
But like to have your fetishes exposed would be the part that would make me just be like, that's really weird. Like,
I mean, but like it seems like what's really funny to me is like this sounds like it would be one of Louis C.K.'s jokes.
Yeah, or like it would be on like on Louis the show.
Exactly.
Like he would be like in the middle of like doing something, and he like needed to like, I don't know, he just had this like feeling, and then like someone walks in on him and he just like doesn't know what to do.
Yeah, right. I could just or I could just hear him going off on a rant about how like how stupid he would think it would be if like he was like, this guy's a sexual predator. All he did was masturbate in front of somebody. Like he would like that just sounds like something he would say.
Yeah, that's maybe that's part of his gig.
Mm-hmm, maybe.
He's just sitting there. He's like, man, I'm gonna come up with a really, really great joke that nobody can steal. Dane Cook.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what about you? How's your day yesterday?
It wasn't bad. I went to work. And it was really slow last night. I think the weather being kind of like cold and shit kind of made it different. I did have a very so last night I played my 80s playlist at work.
Okay.
And most people really, really enjoyed it. But there was one guy who was just really drunk and apparently really upset at the fact that I was playing 80s music. He was just very, very angry about me playing 80s music. He kept complaining to Cassie about it. And so finally I went up to him and I was like, hey man, I heard you were really digging on the 80s music. And then he just started doing the sarcastic thing where he's like, oh, I love 80s music. I was like, cool, man, you want to play like Joy Division? He's like, oh, I love Joy Division. I was like, I got you. let's play nothing but Duran Duran the whole night. You want to do that? And then they just went and played some Duran Duran.
Oh, that's great.
He seemed to really like it. And then, like, I would just, like, he was drunk enough to apparently just like me enough to where, like, I would, like, do this, and then, like, he would think it was a joke, and then, like, I would do something else, and then, like, comment to him and stuff.
Yeah, right.
But, like, it was a fun way of messing with one dude, which made my whole night way better. Plus, it was a pretty good night.
It's a pretty good way to tame a situation too, by just being like, "Hey, you're really drunk and upset. Cool. I'm just gonna confuse you into being happy.
I'm just gonna keep doing things to but yeah. So that was work last night. After that, I came home and I went to bed, but I didn't, like, I was like, man, I'm really tired. I'm going to go to bed. And I laid there, and I was like, well, I'll play a little bit of Minecraft until my eyes get a little bit heavier. And then, like, 5 o'clock in the morning later, I was like, holy shit, I'm still building this castle in Minecraft. I need to go to bed. I've got to record in the morning. Which also probably led to me not waking up early this morning.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
yeah. It all comes together, you know.
So I have a comment.
Okay.
I have noticed. Have you ever looked through, like, your emojis? Like, when do you send a lot of emojis?
I mean, I send a lot of the thumbs up. And
right.
Then,
okay.
And then the copacetic server hand.
Because I've been
But that's about it.
One that I've noticed that, like, really, because I try to send them randomly to like, especially, like, to Chloe and stuff like that. I try to send them randomly, and I've noticed that there's one thing. Here's a weird observation about emojis that I've noticed. So, at least on Apple, there is no emoji for a sandwich.
Oh. There's no sandwich emoji.
There's no sandwich emoji.
Yeah, right.
There's an emoji for fucking weird, like a dolphin emoji, and there's a sandwich for, like, a guard outside of the palace at Buckingham
like
Palace.
one of the beefeater dudes.
Yeah, like a beefeater, but there's not a sandwich. And I
there's also not a cowboy.
Is there not?
There's not a cowboy.
What? No, there's totally a cowboy. I feel like I've seen a cowboy.
Because I remember seeing the beefeater thing and being like, okay, so they got, like, one kind of culture icon. You don't even have, like, a Native American or, like, a cowboy
Yeah, that makes
somewhere.
sense. That one seems like it would be kind of like...
You're right.
They'd be like, that's racist, man. Like, not every Native American wore it. Like,
You're right.
But then, I mean, how am I also supposed to make the YMs... Like, how am I supposed to make the village people on every one of my texts?
Exactly.
Okay, I gotta check this out. We're gonna see if there's not a cowboy. So... People faces...
In the meantime, in the comment section, leave us your top 5 favorite emojis that you wish were made.
There is, like, okay, no, there's not necessarily a cowboy, but there is, like, a farmer dude that has, like, a cowboy-esque hat, it looks like.
Ah, okay.
And there's the David Bowie.
Oh, there's a David Bowie.
Yeah, like, look, here, I'll show you. Like,
is there a Prince?
No, just a David Bowie.
Fair. That's not fair.
I mean, I could make it Prince dressed as David Bowie by holding this down and then going to the black version.
That's funny. I like how all of the Apple, like, smiley face text, like, have hair, but they all look like Donald Trump's family.
I mean, not all of them. That's just when you get to a certain point. I mean, like, there's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of them, like, that don't, obviously. Because you can go into, like, this part right here.
Oh, yeah.
But then, like, they all, like...
That particular section is Donald Trump's family.
Yeah.
As a smiley faces.
And a beefeater.
And a beefeater.
And a pilot. Anyway, but I was just kind of, like... I was so confused because I feel like sandwiches are like... If I were to be like, hey, do you want to get a sandwich? And I needed to not use words... What was I supposed to use for a sandwich? There's a burger, but I feel like that would be far more confusing.
Misleading, yeah.
Yeah, like...
yeah, totally, I'm down to get a burger. Well, I really just wanted a sandwich.
Yeah, I wanted a sandwich with it. I wanted to know if you wanted to go get sandwich with me. Then why did you type burger? Because it's not a fucking sandwich.
Yeah, right.
Like, they have, like all kinds of sushis and stuff on there, but there's not a I feel like a sandwich is, like, a universal food now.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, everyone has to know about a sandwich.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the best thing since sliced bread or whatever.
It's
like,
easy as shit.
That phrase is around. Like, everyone knows about it.
I was so confused when I learned that there wasn't a sandwich. I was like, why is there not a sandwich?
I'm surprised that there's, like, not already just, like, an emoji for just about every word. Like...
I guess go back to hieroglyphics.
I guess that's technically what, like, Chinese is.
Yeah, it's just like
Yeah.
All like calligraphy.
Yeah, it's advanced emoji language. But like
the Chinese were even more ahead than we thought.
Right. And then the Egyptians, like, you know, like they nailed it, man. They even used like cartoons. Like what if like the pyramids are really just like a record of like all the text they sent each other?
Maybe, or it's like I like to think that they were like weird competitions. Like I'm gonna stack this higher than you, and they're like, oh no, you're not.
No, right.
But it's like a competition that goes nowhere because it's a competition that you can only complete after the other person that you're competing with is fucking dead.
Right. Like
it's not like you had two pharaohs ruling Egypt at the same time, being like, I'm gonna build it bigger, I'm gonna build it bigger. It's like one died, and he's like, you know what, I'm gonna build a bigger one, and then the next guy that comes along is like, and then you gotta think about the guy that broke the chain.
Yeah, right.
He's like, you know what? I don't really care about my dad's pyramids thing. I'm just not. I'm not gonna do it.
Like, you know what? Just bury me in the Valley of the Kings.
Yeah.
Like that's where all the cool people are anyway. And like really, like
caves.
Like I get claustrophobic, and you know how much those blocks weigh. I don't really know that.
I was walking in the market the other day, and like I'm pretty sure that I saw my dad's necklace, and like I don't want my shit stolen because I need that in the afterlife. And
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I gotta be able to take that stuff with me, you know.
Have you ever thought much about like reincarnation?
Yeah, actually, quite a bit.
Have you ever thought about what you were in like past lives, just based on like the interest that you hold now?
Like I have thought about. Like, well, see, this is where it becomes interesting to me, is because, like one of my main issues with, like, reincarnation before, like, one of the things that never really made sense to me was that you could reincarnate, or have been reincarnated from, a different life form altogether.
Right, yeah, like a raccoon or...
Yeah, which like
sea sponge.
Which makes sense to me, but at the same time, like, I kind of think, like, well, like my like kind of like alert conscious energy, like it wouldn't make sense for it to go into other animals and then be less capable or like less like conscious of itself. Like that doesn't really make sense.
Maybe that's what dolphins were invented for, even though I think that they have an agenda.
Right.
They're invented for people that couldn't be good enough at coming back as a person, so they give them the second smartest animal, but the only thing is they're stuck in the water.
Yeah, right.
It's like the nefarious people.
Yeah. I guess like the simplest way to put it is, for me, like the way I look at reincarnation is like every time I've been reincarnated, it's been me.
Right.
Because the only reason I think reincarnation is even, you know, possible is because there's only like two experiences I can speak of where I have nothing to say about, and that's before I was born and every time I'm asleep. Like, yes, I have dreams while I'm asleep, but otherwise I don't have anything to say about the world. So to me, if those are the only two situations that are going to be something like dying, then like if 2 out of 3 times what happens is after I go to sleep or am born or I wake up,
yeah,
like then like whenever I die, like that's probably what's gonna happen. I'm gonna wake up and I'm just gonna have a new life, or it's just gonna keep continuing, you know.
I have thought about what I was in past lives, because obviously I know you've heard my spiel about this, but the listeners haven't. I like to think that if I was reincarnated, the last person, because I was born in the 80s, obviously, like in 1989. Which is the last into the 80s for any person that's listening to this and be like, I was born in the 80s, you barely lived through it, man.
Yeah.
Just a technicality, but trust me, my reincarnation story makes it that I lived in the 80s, dude.
Yeah, right.
So like, I have this weird affinity for like the Go-Go's, and I have a weird affinity for like Cyndi Lauper and all these other bands, and the only way that I can explain it is I was obviously a teenage girl in the 80s and then got fucking hit by a car. Me and Ben were going over this last night where it's like, I was at like I died on prom night. Like, so like it was like I go to prom and we go to make out point afterwards, and we're making out in the car, and then like some other drunk person in their other car hits our car and knocks us off the cliff, and we tumble to our death. and that's why I
if
like,
you died on prom night, would that mean you went to school, that you would end up going to school with a bunch of people who were like inexplicably afraid of dumpsters?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so like obviously it was this like set 1980s like super weird girl that was into music, like goth girl.
Oh yeah, perfect.
And that's why I like Joy Division and The Cure and Cyndi Lauper and stuff. And then like I died, and obviously a couple of years later I came back as a baby.
Yeah, right.
And now I'm here. Mission is unknown. Try not to die on prom night.
Try not to, arrive alive.
Arrive alive. Don't go to Makeout Point on prom night.
Yeah, definitely. Don't ever go to Makeout Point.
As someone who's already lived through it, don't go to prom night.
I've seen enough movies to know that if a place is called Makeout Point, that's because that's where serial killers go.
Yeah, that's where like the hook hand guy goes.
It's not called Makeout because you go to make out with people. It's where you go if you don't want people to be able to fucking make out your face while you're killing them.
Yeah, or like if you don't want people to make it out alive.
Exactly. Yeah, so if it's called Make Out, it means stay out.
Wasn't the Zodiac Killer also like? Didn't he like go kill people at a Makeout Point or something?
Yeah,
like that?
Exactly. And it's terrifying.
Which was also connecting to a couple episodes ago when we talked about the Jeff the Killer kind of thing. That was also part of Killer Legends too, where they were talking about like the urban legend of the hook-handed guy and stuff like that, and Makeout Point. But yeah, so
that's always an interesting one. Like do you see the one where it's like the hook hand, or it's like the guy who's got like the meat hook,
like the meat hook kind of thing?
Yeah,
I always imagine it's like
in his hand.
I think like it depends on who's telling the story, because there's always like there's always the guy that taps on the window. In one version, there's always the guy that taps on the window with a hook, and I imagine that to be like a hook hand. Mm-hmm. But like if like it's the one where like at the very end they get away and like they look in the door and there was a hook stuck in it, I think it's like the meat cleaver hook kind of thing. Kind of like yeah. Mm-hmm. So I guess it just depends on how good your storytelling is.
That's very true. That's very true.
But yeah, like I think what would they say that one stemmed the one idea of the hook-handed man stemmed from that murder in Texarkana that the movie The Town That Dreaded Sunlight was based off of. Do you remember that movie? So yeah, like it's about this like I guess like in Texarkana in like the 50s or 60s. There was like this weird murderer that like killed like 10 or like maybe like 6 to 10 teens or something like that over a course of time, and people were like scared to let their kids go out and stuff, obviously. But like he started off like killing, and then they made a movie off of it. I think every year they actually watched around Halloween in Texarkana at like the drive-thru and stuff.
Oh wow, okay.
So
that's crazy. Yeah, I have a lot of family from there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You should ask them about it.
What was it called again?
The Town That Dreaded Sunlight.
The Town That Dreaded Sunlight. Yeah,
the Town That Dreaded Sundown. I think it's Sundown. Yeah, Sundown. It's the Town That Dreaded Sundown.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, Texarkana is a very small, I mean, not super small, but it's a small town on the border of Texas and Arkansas. Yeah, and there's a bank in the middle of town, and whenever you're at the bank, there's a line you can stand on where you're either in Texas or Arkansas, so you can be in both. Whatever that means, you're just in a spot that has an invisible line.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about it to me is like I grew up there. It was one of the first places I ever went to as a kid and traveled to regularly, and like it's weird to think about like somebody killing,
being a serial killer there.
Yeah, like that town being famous for a murder, like for a particular murderer. Like that's kind of odd.
Well, they had the one also in that movie too, in that Killer Legends documentary. And I was actually always going to ask my grandma about it. I think I did ask my grandma about it a little bit. But she lives up near Columbia, Missouri, in some town that I'm not going to name, because you don't need to go pick on my grandma. But the thing took place in Columbia. Let's just go with that. And it was about like the urban legend that it stemmed was the one about the babysitter in the house. They get the phone call, and then they trace the phone call, and they're like, it's coming from inside the house.
Right.
And so, like, that was one that I thought was really interesting, because that happened just in, like, an area around where my family lived in the 1950s. And I guess, like, a couple babysitters got murdered and stuff, like, because of it. And I always thought that was just the weirdest story. It was almost unbelievable to me.
Yeah, right.
But then again, like, it started to become a little bit more believable to me when I was younger, my parents put a separate phone jack in our office. That way they could run the internet and also use the phone if they needed to.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, like, because dial-up internet.
Yeah, right.
If you don't remember dial-up.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, like, so yeah, I could also remember, like, the whole, like, what if I was downstairs and I had, like, the phone and then, like, someone had just called my own number from upstairs and, like, it's coming from inside the house. That's when it got terrifying.
Right.
So...
Yeah, man, whenever we got our own phone line in the basement, in my brother's room, basically everyone, it was an old Mr. Goodson's number, and everyone would be like, would just call asking and ordering food all the time, and be like, we're 12.
Yeah, we don't, how many people do since it's Mr. Goodson's old number, how many times do you think, like, you told people you were 12 and they just thought you were pieces of shit that were working at Mr. Goodson's that didn't want to do anything?
No, the times they thought we were pieces of shit is whenever I would answer the phone and go, Mr. Goodson's, and then they would spit out their order, and I would just be like, all right, we'll have it to you in 30 minutes. That's when I was being an asshole.
I worked at a deli whenever I was younger, and, like, it was, like, my first real job, and, some of the things that we used to do there were just stupid as shit. Like, I don't even... now I know why that place probably closed down, because, like, every manager that was there was, like, roughly 17. I'm pretty... Like, except for the general manager, every other manager was 17 years old, which is a terrible decision.
Well, that's just like how sandwich businesses work to me.
I mean, no, you don't give 70... I mean, you give people that are, like, 20 maybe that... But, like, 17, they're like, I'm in high school, I'm invincible. Mm-hmm. And it's not my money that's being used.
Exactly, so they're like, it's not my money, I don't give a fuck.
But yeah, like, I remember, like, what was it, like, one time, one of our managers was this goofy guy, and he, I think one time, like, he'd opened, like, a bag of cheese, but, like, cut it, and, like, a bunch of it just spilled on the floor, and he just started screaming at it, and then he, like, ran outside around the building a couple times, like, screaming, and we finally got a phone call, and someone was like, we saw someone running out of your building screaming, is everything okay? And I was like, yeah, the manager's just being an idiot. Like, now that I look back on it, I was like, it didn't seem so weird at the time.
Right.
But now it definitely seems really, really, like, I'm like, those people must have thought, what the shit is going on?
Right.
Like,
they must have been terrified.
Yeah, they're like, someone runs out of the back door of a restaurant, it's a chain restaurant, screaming. Mm-hmm. And then they call, and the only thing that someone says is, oh yeah, he's just an idiot. Like, it's just like the most confusing thing ever. And along with other things, like... It was just it was a stupid place.
17-year-olds, man, that's why.
17-year-olds, man, don't let them in charge of your delis.
Right, shit like that'll happen. Just
or
like
worse.
That. Or
I'm sure there
worse.
was much worse that went on there while I was working.
Oh shit! Did I ever tell you about whenever I was working at Bamboo and like that kid got chased out by the manager holding a cleaver? Like yeah. It was like.
So do tell the story for everyone though.
Okay, so like, I used to work at a Vietnamese restaurant here in town, and like it's really good food, but like these people don't really spend a lot of time trying to live up to health code, so to speak. The family that owns it, they just don't care. And like the cooks would literally, like, I would show up to work and they would just be like drinking beers while making food, and like they were always having a good time, which made work fun, but it was also kind of hard because it was like 2 servers for 40 tables and it would get busy.
Yeah, it's even harder when you're drunk.
Yeah, no, say exactly. And then of course they get drunk and cook slowly and don't give 2 shits. And food, yeah, whatever. But yeah, so like apparently like this Jake kid just, probably, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Like he started working at Bamboo with me, and he'd worked with me at another job before that, and so we both started at the same time, and then the next thing you know, like a few months down the road, like he's pissed off the manager Win so much, like because he just comes to work and just eats food and just eats food and just eats food, and that's all he does, all he did every day. He just ate a shitload of food and then like didn't take care of tables well. And so like one day like he like dropped like a tray of like 4 or 5 different bowls of food, and Win just freaked out and like just chased him out like through the kitchen with a giant fucking meat cleaver and was like, get the fuck out of my restaurant. and just started screaming at him.
Okay, so how old was this kid? This is like what,
18.
Like, he was okay. So like an 18-year-old, like an 18-year-old kid
Just out
is
of high
being
school.
chased out of a restaurant with a giant cleave. That's got to be terrible. That's got to be scarring for him.
Yeah,
think
by
of-
like a skeletal 5'6" Vietnamese man.
Yeah, like who gives no shit. You've
Yeah,
seen
like,
him
who's
day after
very
day.
drunk.
Who gives no shit.
Yeah, very drunk. Yeah, yeah.
I feel like that would be in like a Kevin Smith movie.
Yeah, right.
It'd be like in like Slackers or some like movie like that where it's just like it's like yeah man I don't get it, and he's like what do you mean? He's like so like okay, here's the deal. Every day I go into work, I just eat a bunch of food because it's just there, man. Like I get high beforehand and it's just there, and I eat a bunch of food and like I try to do my best, but then like all of a sudden the owner just snaps and he chases into the cleaver, man. And then like you've got the other guy that's maybe like Jason Lee just being like, "What, a cleaver?" And he's like, "Yeah, man, a cleaver, like one of those
Yeah, right,
like a Saw movie cleaver." And like
That's fucked up, yo.
he's like, "Yeah, man, that's weird. Yeah, man, that place is nuts."
Yep. Yeah, I mean, like that's how it went down. Just chased some butcher knife. Nobody was even worried about it.
Oh,
The
yeah.
other cooks just kept cooking and like just ignored it. Like the small woman who made spring rolls also just kept sitting there as they like chased around her. Like she just kept making spring rolls.
That also could. You should have just put like the what is it, that one chicken dance song, the yeah, from like the
Yeah.
Oktoberfest.
Yeah, right.
But just like get like a top shot and watch them run around.
right.
That. Like she's still just making like spring rolls.
Yeah, exactly. I wish I could have made a sweet video montage.
That would have been so good, man. Why don't we have cameras all the time?
All the time.
Have you ever noticed yourself like ever since I've been doing this a lot and stuff like that? Like I'll notice that there will be conversations that I have. I'm like, God damn it, why am I not recording this?
I have that feeling a lot, man. Like it's like the curse of the record button, man. Like you're always pushing. Every time you push it, nothing happens, and then every time something happens, no one's pushed it.
Yeah, it's never on.
So so I just turned 25. I said that at the beginning of the episode. And that's what I did yesterday. I celebrated 25 years.
Right. Quarter of a decade.
Quarter of a decade.
Quarter of a century.
Quarter of a century.
Quarter of a decade is
decade.
like 2.5 years.
Yeah. So I was kind of interested. I was just gonna say like, okay, like Wes is beyond the 25 marker.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think was the most important thing you learned by the time you were 25?
The most important thing that I learned by the time I don't know. I feel like I was really fucking stupid when I was 25. Probably the most important thing that I learned at 25 was no one is going to make you happy.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just have to kind of like make yourself be happy, and you gotta like. So I think that was on the brink of me starting to like be like I'm gonna start like podcasting and stuff. I think I had bought the microphones and I was gonna do it. I just needed a reason and some other things to do. I think that was the thing is with me. It just came down to the point where I'm just like, you got to do what makes you happy. No one's just gonna give you that. You can't just talk about something all the time. You got to actually do it. And that was the lesson I learned from 25 to 26. Was that I needed to do that. Outside of that, 25 was a really weird year. I mean, it was a pretty bad year. Like it was the year that like my grandfather died when I was 25 and stuff like that. It was just I don't know. I don't really like thinking about 25.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's good though. I would say personally that like,
also that you're young enough to still gamble it. Like you're not so old to where you're like, oh, I'm just shit out of luck now and I'm poor forever. Like you're still young enough at 25 to be able to gamble. Like
yeah, man. Plus, like, who in the right mind thinks they're gonna have their shit all together and figured out by the time they're 30? Like, that's bananas insane to try and do.
Yeah, isn't that what your dad says?
Yeah, man.
He's like, if you have it figured out by 30, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, right. Like, because I mean, like the way I look at it is like the human brain doesn't even really start to like grow into an individual until you get out of high school. You know, it's really not until for most people, either their last couple of years of high school or first couple of years of college that they even really start realizing who they are as a person.
I think that has to do a lot with like. There's always something to be said about like, don't just like live comfortably. Like, don't take the easy option. Just go take the shitty options a lot of times because
Yeah, right.
Those are the things that help you grow. And like if you're stressed out and stuff like that, you'll know how to be less stressed out.
Yeah, and that kind of leads me to the point of what I think I've learned in my 25 years.
Okay, what top 5 things that Alex?
No, just the
top
one.
One thing that Alex has learned in 25
top one
years.
thing that, and this is something that I think anybody should know or think about, and it's just that like like if you can remind yourself that like stress is not a negative thing. It can have negative effects on you, but really all it is a sign of like growth internally.
Yeah.
You know, like if something stresses you out, find a way to flip that in a way to challenge yourself to just get it done, because that's really where stress can become a motivator. And like honestly, like just saying, you know what, we're going to do it. Like Wes and I didn't even think about starting this podcast. We literally just brought it up one day,
and 12 hours later we made it.
Recorded it the next day, and it was up that night. Like it took less than 24 hours for us to come up with the idea and for it to start. And really, the only reason it started is because we just fucking did it.
And we had the options. Like,
Yeah.
We had the computers and everything. We had the...
Yeah, like we had everything we needed to do it, so we did it.
Yeah.
And ultimately what it comes down to is like just anytime you feel like you've got something stressful going on in your life, just like don't stress out about it. Like it is stressful, so to speak.
Right.
But you don't need to take it seriously.
You can control the stress. Like,
Exactly.
That's the thing. It's like you yourself allow yourself to get as caught up as you want to.
Right. Yeah. Like you're in. However angry you get at any situation is just a reflection of how much the situation didn't go the way you expected it to.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you know, if you can just like accept that things don't go the way you expect them to, and just go with the flow and use the incoming stress as something to cope with,
Right.
rather than just something that's happening to you. Like you can. I don't know. I feel like in 25 years, that's what I've learned is like don't take stress. Like don't make stress stressful.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, well, I am going to promise everyone for the next episode that we do that I am going to do a movie review. I'm going to go see that movie Loving Vincent. Have you heard of that movie?
Man.
It's playing at a movie theater in town and stuff like that. And if you don't know what Loving Vincent is, it's the movie that I think it had like 100 and something artists like painting away at this to like make a movie about Vincent van Gogh in the style of Vincent van Gogh's paintings,
where every frame is literally painted.
Yeah, and me and Chloe are gonna go on a date on Saturday night and stuff like that. We're gonna go see. We're gonna have some drinks and go see that. And so that's gonna be. I'll give a movie review on that the next time. I guess I just have to remember to do that. But yeah, like I'll try to remember to tell you guys what I thought about it and stuff, because it does looks immaculate. I just wonder if the story's gonna match up with how well the movie actually looks.
And the reviews for it are pretty much what you would are all just like wonderful, glowing, like talking about how beautiful it is, and it's really well done. So like I can only assume nothing less than that, you know.
Right? Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be aesthetically pleasing.
Right.
I just want to know if the story is well enough.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Or and to think about like, do you think like just because you've done it in Vincent van Gogh's style of painting, how would Vincent van Gogh frame everything? You know, like, you know, how would he want a camera to move through a landscape? Like that's something I'm interested in seeing a lot, is like kind of this new aspect of like all these artists are kind of having to figure out like, okay, how would Vincent van Gogh want to pan a camera?
I'm just really glad I'm not going to see a movie called Loving Picasso. Because that would be confusing.
Right.
Or Salvador Dali.
It's just like a whole movie that's just like, it's just completely white with like a couple circles floating around.
There's like a lot of jagged edges.
Yeah,
and like people's face looks just like gnarly and weird.
Yeah. And no one really knows how long it is because all the clocks are melted.
Yeah. It's just like this surreal, awful time.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think it's time to close out the Brigadier calls. Thank you for joining us on the Nautilus today. I'm Wes Potts.
I'm Alex Koeneman.
And we'll see you next time.
Woo!